Also remembering this very painful anniversary, 80 years ago, the German troops invaded Poland.
One country is missing, of course, at the gathering.
Go ahead and fill us in.
Vladimir Putin's
yes, of course.
Russia.
Yeah. He was not invited to attend.
He was not invited to attend.
Tell us more about what that means.
We don't really know what the reasoning behind it was. There was an official statement made saying that it would be inappropriate to invite Russia at this point in time, given the tactics that were used in the Crimea annexation in 2014. Yeah. And I think the Poles still worry that there is a real live and valid threat from the Russian side.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, distinguished presidents. In conclusion, however, I would like to reopen the point that I mentioned before. I said that in the world today, unfortunately, we keep witnessing, despite of the entire progress of the civilization, despite of that horrible lesson from the past, we still witness the acts of ethnic cleansing, of mass murders, and last but not least, genocide. In recent times, we can see even in Europe, again, imperial trends coming back. We can see the attempts of borders being shifted in Europe by force. We are seeing other countries being invaded, their lands being taken away, and their citizens being kept in bondage. That very lesson should teach us one thing. Perhaps the Second World War would not have broken out in the first place if the states of the West had put up a decisive resistance against the Anschluss of Austria, if they stood up decisively against the imperial strivings of Hitler, his maniac visions, if they protested in a strong way against how Jews were treated in Germany before the Second World War, if the international community had defended very decisively and strongly Czechoslovakia, perhaps if all of that had happened, there would not have been an attack against Poland and the Second World War would not have broken out in the first place. If the leaders had been decisive and strong in the first place, if they had not been afraid of another war, because as a result, that war did break out and it was even more horrible than the First World War. And that is a grand lesson for us. The lesson for us as the leaders of Europe and the world today. This is a big lesson to us as those who are members of the North Atlantic Alliance, as those who are members of the European Union. We must not accept and do business as usual. When things like that happen, there have to be sanctions and strong steps have to be taken. It has to be visible that any military aggression would be met with an absolutely decisive, strong and powerful response. These are the challenges we are facing in the contemporary times. And that is why I would like to call on you, ladies and gentlemen, and to urge you. Business as usual and turning a blind eye is not a silver bullet to keep the peace. It is a simple way to embolden those who are aggressive. It is a simple way to give a permission to perpetrate more attacks. Ladies and gentlemen, you know that this is happening. In 2008, there was Georgia. In 2014, Ukraine. And until today, we see borders being shifted, occupation, prisoners of war, military provocations. We have to be decisive. We must not accept this, because it is the responsibility we have in front of our societies and before the societies of Europe and the world to make sure that we never again see an armed aggression. So that drama, the tragedy of the Second World War, which the whole world experienced, is never repeated again. Here, in Poland, on the 1st of September 1939, the Second World War started. First, we were attacked by Nazi Germany, and the Polish armed forces were pushed towards east. And then, on the 17th of September, we were treacherously attacked by the Soviet Union, as it later turned out, an ally to Nazi Germany. And the Polish armed forces were flanked on both sides. Then we knew that alone we would not be able to face up to that challenge. Today, I don't want to say that we were counting on the help of our allies back then, and although they declared war, we did not receive tangible help. If that happened, perhaps the history would have taken another turn. However, Poland vanished from the map, with many Polish soldiers becoming prisoners of war. They became prisoners of war of both the Nazis and the Soviets, especially the Soviet bondage is deeply imprinted on the memory of our nation, because the Soviets bestially murdered more than 22,000 Polish officers, prisoners of war. They killed them with a shot in the back of their heads, in Katyn and in other places. That was a horrendous hecatomb of the Polish intelligentsia. That was a horrific hecatomb for our entire nation. It was wiping out from the Polish structure of its best nation, of its best sons and daughters. I'm talking about the Polish structures in the broadest sense of the meaning, because I'm speaking here about the citizens of the Polish state. And to be precise, I'm talking about different nationalities: Poles, Jews, Ukrainians, Ruthenians. All of them were the officers of the Polish armed forces, and all of them were treated in the same way. All of them were bestially murdered. Many people, also the soldiers, were deported. They were deported deep into Russia, to Siberia, where they faced up dramatic conditions. They died in gulags, doing horrible, hard work, being tormented. It's hard to describe all of that today, but that was horrible indeed. And the country vanished. Stalin stopped his troops at the line of the Vistula River, and he waited until Hitler leads the uprising. Then the fates of our soldiers took different turns. Many of them did not return to Poland because, unfortunately, we were not beneficiaries of that grand victory. We found ourselves under another occupation, of the Soviet occupation this time. And one can say that, to a certain extent, the Second World War, in the context of its political consequences, the political consequences of that 1st of September 1939, ended only in 1989. Hence, it lasted much longer than in other places around the globe. Because how can we talk about the end of the war and about a victory when you are not living in a truly free country, when you are not living in a truly sovereign country, when you are not living in a truly independent country, when you are not fully free? However, we thank our allies from the Free West, from behind the Atlantic Ocean, for having supported us in those difficult times. Thank you. That it is also thanks to their attitude and thanks to their aid and assistance, the people from Solidarity, the ground freedom movement, could prevail. That was a large satisfaction to us. That also, thanks to our stubbornness, thanks to our struggle for freedom, the Berlin Wall fell later as well. That also Germans could experience their reunification as part of the grand community of the Free West, the community of democracies. Today, we are all members of the European Union. Today, we are together members of the North Atlantic Alliance. Today, we are together bound by all the best bonds of the free world. Once again, I bow to all the heroes of the Second World War, especially to the heroes, to my compatriots, to my fellow citizens, to those who fell and to those who survived, fighting for a free, sovereign and independent Poland, fighting for a free Europe, fighting for freedom, ours and yours. I bow to you and I pay homage to you. You are wonderful, and we thank you from the bottom of our hearts that you have joined us here today and that you give the testimony that it was worthwhile. It was worthwhile to stand up courageously and to fight for freedom and not to surrender, even in the bleakest circumstances. Honor and glory to the heroes.